2018, Frank Meek was already a notorious leader in America's neo-Nazi underground. He ended up in prison for violent crimes, and in the decades since, he's been dedicated to fighting racism and extremism. Last September, he even testified before Congress about how to do it. Frank Meek joins me now, and his book is called Autobiography of a Recovering Skinhead. Frank, thank you so much for coming on. I first want to ask you regarding this arrested Trump appointee. He had a top secret clearance. He presumably passed government background checks. What does that tell you about this election conspiracy movement and who it attracts?
Well, you know, this attracts, fortunately for us, it's tracking idol worshipers, which we should know that God's against that. So we're going to let that take care of that. But where we need to worry about is where this extremism is in our police force. That's the biggest concern we have to look at right now. How many police charged that building? How many police officers couldn't make it because they were on duty that day? Like, there's a lot we need to look at in the policing, because I think that keeps the wound of America's civil rights open. The wound is from mostly police activity right now. So I think for us to stop the radicalization, we need to stop giving America red meat to fight over, and that is, let's get true, real police reform. Okay, and I know you're now a supporter of Black Lives Matter movement. That is a separate issue, and I don't know that there's any data or specific facts to back up what you just said. But what I want to go to is talk about this election conspiracy movement and what we heard from FBI Director Christopher Wray outlining the urgency of combating domestic extremism this week. Let's listen to what he said.
January 6th was not an isolated event. The problem of domestic terrorism has been metastasizing across the country for a long time now, and it's not going away anytime soon. At the FBI, we've been sounding the alarm on it for a number of years now.
So the acting Capitol Police Chief says some of the same extremists involved in the January 6th attack want to blow up the Capitol when President Biden addresses Congress. Has this type of extremist reached a new level in your view? And if so, what is driving it? Well, what's driving it is, the fear. It's fear and narcissism and that fake patriotism that's just nationalism wrapped up, again, with worshiping an idol. But what we can do is, with these people that are just continuously passing conspiracies, is we have to realize that Fox News, and I know that this is CNN, but Fox News has completely radicalized so many Americans. If you look at Fox News and then you compare that to hate radio from Rwanda and what started that civil war, there's comparisons there. So we have to know that a lot of our fellow Americans, fellow children of God, have been radicalized by a network of news that, as a former radical, I can tell you from watching Fox News, I can show you where there's same radical stuff that I used to say. I used to have a TV show as a neo-Nazi. I used to know how to they used the same stuff. Instead of saying where I would say Jews, they say big media. It's just they swapped out a couple of words here and there, but it's still just radicalization. So that's where we have to look, is Fox News. And media does play an important role. How did someone like you get out of that mentality, of that mindset? I mean, that is the question with this being such a big concern about domestic extremisms. How do you get out of that if you're always bombarded with your views, with your worldview, and conspiracy theories and so forth that just back up what you believe?
What I believe is that, everyone is children of God. So I can't judge, and I know God loves me, then I know he loves everyone else the same, and so I can't hurt what God loves. But how I stopped being a racist was when I started to be embarrassed of my beliefs. When people, and maybe God, I don't know, put people in my life to continuously prove my beliefs wrong to me, to where I was embarrassed. And hopefully that's what's going to continue happening in America with the Trumpism. Is they're just going to completely keep being embarrassed. The QAnons will just keep being embarrassed, and eventually we'll be the America that accepts them back for, even though they fell for an idol.
I want to ask you about QAnon. It seems harder to pin down than white supremacy or other extremist ideologies. Do you see QAnon as a domestic terrorist threat?
Absolutely. QAnon is a huge, the neo-Nazi stuff that I belong to is manifested in the QAnon, in the Proud Boys. So it's the same. Look, what I happened to learn how to not hate was I learned facts about myself. to learn facts about myself so I don't need to hate other people. And when I see what I used to be, I see it in QAnon. I see it in the Proud Boys. Like, racism always just recycles itself. We can't be the KKK anymore, right? So now they can't be the neo-Nazi no more. Now they're the Proud Boys. It's just remarketing hate, remarketing it. And this time it's different. It's always different this time. Hate's always different this time. But it's still the same. It's people that are wrapped up in fear and they're just scared and egos, and that's exactly what we see Trump 2020, and it's all ego. So we got to hope that some of our fellow Americans will start to see that.
Okay, Frank Meek, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your perspective and your history.
Thank you.
We'll have our